Is Makhachaev taking on Dustin Poirier, and this is do or die for Dustin.
There was a big story going into WrestleMania this year. Cody Rhodes, will he finish
his
the story?
story?
And so I say to Dustin, will you finish your story, Dustin?
Paulo Costa versus Sean Strickland.
I love the fight because there's a lot of pressure on Sean's shoulders, as you know, we talked about earlier. I don't know if you were paying attention, but we also talked about that fight too, Mike. Welcome to the show.
I think if I was Tom Aspinall, I think you'd probably take a page out of Conor McGregor's book. Don't believe in that belt that John Jones has. That belt is nothing, mate. This is the real heavyweight championship of the world. That's how I would spin. This is some kind of
impersonation right here.
I know, right?
That's a little bit more Irish than British. But
I don't know what it was.
I think Islam's a better version of Khabib. I think he moves better on the feet. His grappling is a little bit better than Khabib's, but can Dustin Poirier become the champion? I think.
Oh, it's 15 time! World champion, Demetrious Johnson! You're listening to the Mighty Cast!
The key.
What's happening, boys?
Another beautiful day, another beautiful day.
They're scraping the bottom of the barrel. They had to come back to Mr. YouTube, Mr. Ratings himself. They had to come back after going through a sad list of guests. They had to come back to the MVP. Yeah, Helwani up in this. Nah, I'm just kidding. Much love to all the guests.
Was Ariel
Incredible.
the first guest we had?
No, I think the first guest we had was I don't know who the first guest was.
I think he might have been the first guest in the history of the Mighty Cast.
Really?
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
Oh yeah, he was.
You called. By the way, why does Mike sound so low?
I don't know. He's always he's always like the producer, and his setup's the worst. Like it's not even loud.
You sound perfect. Why?
Yeah.
Let me
turn the mic up.
You sound awful, Mike. Why do you guys look so good? How do I look this good? Why do I look like I'm doing my shit on like a potato, and you guys look all crystal clear and shit?
You said that last time. You said that last time when you jumped on here.
This is better.
Yeah,
Mike.
Way better.
Okay. Hey, Mike, act like you've been there before, Mr. ESPN, all right? You know, you've got to talk into the microphone.
I prefer being behind the camera.
This is fun.
Well, shit.
Are we getting right into it? There's no foreplay. There's no foreplay with you guys.
Nope. We're getting right into it. We're just going to cook this shit up. All right, boys. Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Cast. And, I don't need no introduction to this guest. He's the MVP of the guest. He's our first guest on a Mighty Cast. And I wanted to bring it back to the show because we're supposed to vibe out in Vegas. Ariel Helwani's been doing a lot more shows on the road. Ariel, welcome back, brother. How you been?
It's so good to be back. You guys are crushing it. I'm actually so, I hate to say, I don't want to use the word proud because like I'm not your dad or anything, but like it's just amazing what you guys have built. And I'm very impressed, I guess is the word. I mean, the thumbnail, shout out to your thumbnail guy.
Shout out to Med. Shout out to fucking Med.
Med lives in Morocco. Shout out to Med from Morocco.
Shout out to my Moroccan
we always
friend.
Say he's the Moroccan man of mystery because I don't even know what he looks like, but he makes the most.
Whatever he looks like,
thumbnails.
he makes some great thumbnails, man. They just pop. And DJ, you're looking fantastic too. You're all shiny and stuff. Are you tan? What's going on? What's changed about you? Something's changed.
I like to call this dark mighty. This is my dark form when I'm in the sun. So this is dark mighty.
You look great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's my skincare routine. Like everybody on the channel is like, God, DJ sweating. I was like, no, my skin's always hydrated. I have a great, Ame aesthetic here in Sumner, takes care of your boy. And so, yeah, that's why I always have myself looking glistening. Like I'm ready to jump on a slip and slide.
How long is the routine?
Well, I shower twice a day and I exfoliate twice. I exfoliate my body twice, but I only exfoliate my face one time a day. So it's about like 5 minutes. When I get out of the shower, I put some vitamin B.
When you say exfoliate, what do you mean by that?
Like you put like some grains on your finger. Like I don't know by the science of it, but you basically like exfoliate your face, like use a scrub to get all like the dead skin off, and then I put some like vitamin A, B, C. It's like a serum on my face. I let that dry up, and then once that's dried, then I put some other like high-end lotion on my face. That's only for your face, and then boom, and I do it on my forehead too. And that's why when I'm like 85, I'm fucking still looking good, baby.
Yeah. And by the way, the 2 showers, is it morning and night, or what are we doing?
It's morning when I train in the morning. So I trained earlier today, and then I trained. Then I'm gonna train tonight, and so you don't want to exfoliate twice. You don't want to do your face twice, but I do my body every single time because to fight ringworm, staph, MRSA, all that shit. I don't want that stuff in my life, man. I don't want it.
Man, look at you. Look at you. The glow up is something. Both you. By the way, who's responsible for all this? Is it Mighty Wife? Is she the one that got you on?
Oh, Mighty Wife. Oh, yeah. She, because, you know, she's aged very, very well. Like, a lot of people think she's like 28, 25. And they're like, no, she goes, no, I'm 37. And I've had 3 kids. And like, holy shit, you look great. And she goes, her thing is skincare. She's like, my passion is skincare. I drink lots of water. I have my facials and all that stuff. So I see her looking good. I want to age well with her. So that's why I'm on the skincare routine too.
Respect.
Yeah.
Respect.
Brother. And I think it's okay to say.
I didn't mean to hijack your show.
No. You're not hijacked. We're just vibing out. This is, ladies and gentlemen, this is a vibe out episode, okay? We're vibing out. We're talking about all the shit that's going on, you know. But before you said that, I think it's okay you say you're proud of us, because I'm proud of you to see you. It makes me so happy to see you covering boxing, right? Like, I see you doing all the work with the Zone when you're covering the Riyadh season. Like, I love it. Like, me, Destiny, literally sit down and watch with a big smile on our face to see where you come from. And I think you actually enjoy, like, we both can agree. We were talking about it yesterday off camera. Right now, I feel like boxing is more exciting than mixed martial arts. Right? I mean, there are points in time where mixed martial arts is having its peaks, but right now you just had Ryan Garcia versus, Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia just popped, right? We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. And then you had, Francis Ngannou, who got knocked out by Anthony Joshua. Then you just had the beautiful Tyson Fury, and Usyk just beat him, became the heavyweight champion. That fight was absolutely amazing. From round 1 to round 12, I was at the edge of my seat. Right now we're sitting here waiting for, in mixed martial arts world, we have a couple things going on. One championship, we got, Kay Bertolo making his debut in mixed martial arts. We got, a couple other things. But right now, I think the story we're waiting for in mixed martial arts is Islam taking on Dustin Poirier. This is my personal opinion. I believe this is Dustin Poirier's last opportunity to become a lightweight champion in mixed martial arts in the UFC, right? So I think if we take a step back, I feel like right now boxing is more exciting. Well, the most exciting thing is fucking WWE. Jey Uso.
Main event Jey.
Dude. Oh my God. Dude. Yeah, all fucking day, man. Okay.
It's great.
Where do we start? You want to start with boxing, WWE,
okay.
mixed martial arts?
First let me just say I'm following in your footsteps because I see you doing stuff with DAZN as well. Mm-hmm. So shout out to you. I have always adored boxing. I knew what boxing was before I knew what MMA was, before I knew what the UFC was. And, sometimes I get people who say to me now that I'm doing more of this stuff, and I want to touch on it in a second, is like, oh, what is the MMA guy doing here? And it kind of annoys me because I am not just an MMA guy. I am a guy who adored MMA, who when I went to school in 2001, Syracuse University, I saw there were a bunch of kids who all wanted to be the same thing. And I told my parents, I love this thing called the UFC, called mixed martial arts. There's no one covering it. Maybe I could be the guy. But I've always had aspirations to not just be an MMA guy, to never leave MMA. But this summer, I'm covering the Olympics for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. I've done stuff as far as NBA coverage for ESPN when I was there as well. I did general sports radio for ESPN radio as well. Like, I don't just want to be an MMA guy. So when people say, oh, what's the MMA guy doing here? Like, and I said this on my show on Monday, like, I've been watching boxing since a lot of you guys were in your father's nutsack. Like, I went to Arturo Gatti in Montreal against Joe Hutchinson back in 2000. I was watching the Grant brothers in Montreal. So I adore boxing. And from a journalistic standpoint, I do believe that right now, there are a ton of great storylines in the world of boxing. And there's such great personalities, from the promoters to the managers to the network executives to the trainers to the fighters. And when you're covering it, the UFC is such a well-oiled machine. I'm not knocking them. Please don't get me wrong here. Like, they are just on fire. The business has never been better. They've never made more money. It's never been more popular, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. but from a journalistic standpoint, speaking to the characters and whatnot, and just kind of how boxing is a bit of the Wild West, it's very fun to cover it. And so I love the Eddie Hearns of the world and the Frank Warrens of the world and the Bob Arams of the world and the different characters as far as the fighters. And just look at the calendar, look at the fights back to back to back.
Yeah.
In large part due to the stuff that DAZN is doing, it seems like we're getting a big fight every weekend. June 1st, you talked about Dustin Poirier against Islam Makhachaev. On that same day back in Riyadh, you've got this 5 versus 5 card where it's Team Matchroom against Team Queensberry. And it's so pro wrestling. You talk about pro wrestling. It's the thing, DJ. It's so pro wrestling. I get excited talking about this because I've always felt, you know what a Venn diagram is?
Yes.
You know, like when the circles touch each other and there's that like little part in the
it
middle?
It overlaps with each other. Yes.
Yes. So I have always felt like I live in that tiny piece where it's MMA, boxing, pro wrestling. And there's a tiny piece in the middle that overlaps all of them. And I'm that guy. I'm not necessarily kickboxing. I appreciate it. I love it. I don't follow it as closely. But those 3 combat sports in particular, that's my thing. And now all of a sudden, you're seeing the MMA guys do boxing. You're seeing the boxing events getting bigger and bigger. They're co-promoting. And now even like you're seeing these Queensberry Matchroom card, the one that we're going to see on June 1st, this is straight out of Survivor Series. This is WWE. This is 5 versus 5 with points attached to it. And then when they have the press conference, Eddie Hearns says, I got one last guy to announce. And everyone's like, who's the last guy? Who's the last guy? And it's Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, who he's had a long-standing feud. Like, this is straight out of Vince McMahon, Eric Bischoff showing up on Monday Night Raw back in whenever it was, 2003. And so I love all this stuff. I love it all. I don't think that you have to pick one. I think that you can enjoy it all, cover it all. And I'm appreciative to the likes of DAZN who have welcomed me into the family. And I'm trying to do as much of it as possible. Yeah,
shout out to DAZN because they welcomed me to the family too. When I was doing some work with running up on a show on DAZN, they brought up that 5 versus 5. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I was like, where's this coming from? And it almost reminded me of like how you said with WWE, the storylines, like as I have transitioned into this role of covering the sport and covering it as my passion, I like the storylines, right? Like when you go back to boxing, the storyline of Ryan Garcia, how he's going to bounce back. He's fighting another big name with Devin Haney. And then now with the allegation of him testing positive, obviously the A sample was, positive. And they're like, well, you know what? And then he's out on social media. See, you guys are all fucking stupid. They're just trying to take away from me all my hard work. And then today, of time of filming this, which is Thursday, the 23rd of May, it comes out the B sample is also positive. So it's now like, what happens? Does he lose? Obviously, it's going to be a no contest overturned. Does he still have to pay back the money? And he also gambled on himself. So the fact that he knew that he took these drugs to give himself an upper hand, and he bet on himself, and he also won. I feel they can go to a fucking lawsuit here, my friend. Like, I don't know how they're going to navigate this, but what does this do to Ryan Garcia? And what does this do to Haney? Do they do a rematch? Does this tarnish, Haney's legacy? Because you look at TJ Dillashaw when he tested positive when he fought Henry Cejudo. Now you're like, man, I wonder how long has he been on it? Maybe he's been on it his whole entire career. He just never got caught. They can say the same thing about Ryan Garcia. You just never know. So I just think the storylines now, in all the, combat sports, wrestling.
What a time.
Well, it's what a time
for us to be covering this stuff, right? It's like every weekend there's something big. Regarding Ryan Garcia, I'll just say that what he has tested positive for is something called Ostarine, which has been popping up in contaminated supplements. Now, we'll never know if it was a mistake or not, but this is something that has affected MMA guys. Sean O'Malley twice. Daniel Rodriguez very recently. D-Rod tested positive for it as well. And so there at the beginning of all of this, when it came out in early May, there was talk that maybe the anabolic steroid nandrolone was also in a system, but that has not shown up in either one of these tests, which were on April 19th, the day before the fight, and April 20th. If that would have popped up as well, I would have said, okay, we've got a real issue here. But now it is very look at Khalil Roundtree. Khalil Roundtree came out before they announced that he had tested positive and said, I screwed up. I took a supplement and then I found out and I want to get ahead of this. And so I do believe, and you would know this way better than me, like there's a bunch of stuff out there and sometimes you screw up. And we all like to think that everyone's checking every single label and making sure that everything syncs up with what's allowed and what isn't. But I'd like to believe that he didn't cheat. It is worth noting that he has never popped before. It is worth noting that all the tests leading up to that fight were all negative. And it is also worth noting, if people want to be like, aha, the B sample never comes back different. It's never different.
Yeah.
It's like a 99.99999% chance that it's going to be the exact same. It's the same thing. It's just divided into two.
Exactly.
So, of course
And
it was going to come back.
And so for the viewers out there and the listeners out there, I've been tested by USADA multiple times. And what Ariel Helwani is referring to is like, when USADA comes in or whoever, or the athletic commission comes in, after your fight or before the fight, they come to the locker room. They say, "Put your penis out." A guy looks at it. You pee in one big cup, and then when you get done with that, you put it on the counter, and then you open a little brown package. In that brown package, there's two samples. There's an A, there's a B. Excuse me, not samples. There's two containers. You pull out the A, you pull out the B, and he says, "Hey, fill up the A sample up to a certain limit." Okay, then whatever's left, pour it into B. Lock it tight. And you can't unlock it. It's only by a lab can lock it. It's like a laser, I believe. And you take your serial number on it, and you and the USADA guy are the only guy who knows it. When it gets to the lab, you're known as a number. So then I'm like, oh, this is Ryan Garcia's sample. I'm gonna fuck with him. No, it's labeled as XY 5 numbers or whatever it may be. So when the person at the lab gets it, they're just testing somebody random P. They say, hey, this one has X5, whatever the number is positive for Austrian and anabolic steroids. So viewers, that's what he means. And like he's saying, whatever's in the A sample, it's going to be the fucking B sample because it comes from the same piss stream, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So I wasn't holding out any hope that it was going to be any different. So this is not some big news. It was just a formality. So yes, to your point, they will probably overturn it in New York. And it will be a stain, and he'll be suspended. But I think unequivocally, you have to run it back. The rematch now is even bigger than it was on April 21st after they fought, which I was interested in that rematch back then. Mm-hmm. But now there's so much drama. There's so much attached to it, so many big storylines attached to it. I think it is the no-brainer of all no-brainers. Whenever he is free and clear, to run this back.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing in that it's not frustrating, but it's a hard thing to navigate when it comes to supplements and people taking tainted supplements. I mean, you look at the long history of all the athletes. John Jones, dick pills, he's got a big dick as he claims. He's got to get it up. So he goes to the gas station to get dick pills. Sugar Sean O'Malley, he's had Austrian. Now you have Ryan Garcia. And I feel like there has to be I don't know, I've been taking supplements, for a very, very long, long time. And I always do, vegan supplements, and I've never tested positive. So for me as a clean athlete, it's like, man, were you getting supplements and why is yours tested positive and mine's not? I don't know. As an athlete who's, been competing since 18 years old and now I'm 37, it's just very hard for me because I remember when I fought, what's his name? Ali Bagatinov, and you called me and said, hey, dude, he popped for EPO. And I'm like, okay. Then he says, well, I didn't test positive for EPO. And I was like, guys, there's no reason why this shit should be in your system, right? It just, when it pops up, none of this stuff's ever popped up with my stuff, right? Granted, I don't take, all the stuff over the counter supplements, but I just have a hard time believing that it just pops up out of nowhere, right?
That's fair. Yeah. There's too much at stake, right?
Yeah.
There's your reputation, money, your career. So yes, you should probably be 1,000% sure. But, with Ryan, it's a very complex one because let's be honest, I don't buy the whole thing that, oh, he was just trolling the whole time. He was acting a little bit, So who knows what, he even said it himself. I was drinking, I was smoking. So who knows what he was doing and taking. I mean, I would really, truly like to think that he wasn't knowingly cheating. He seems very passionate about it.
Of course.
He seems very adamant, but you never know. We've seen it all in this game. We've seen every single scenario. The John Jones one is still maybe the craziest.
Debatable.
It's one thing if you're saying oh, someone gave me this, creatine or whatever, something to put in my smoothie. You're going to a gas station. you're the best fighter in the world, and you're just popping something in. Really? Come on, man. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way.
I love the fact that it was a gas station. What? At the end of the day, John Jones could be driving home, long day of training. He's like, oh man, I'm exhausted. I need a little extra, pick me up. Let me just grab this. He's paying for, $20 on pump 5. He sees it on the counter, grabs it. He goes, I'm just going to take a couple of this and, have a good night.
Do they even sell that at gas stations? I've never even looked. I've never even went to verify if this is a thing that you can get at a gas station, because it feels like a pharmaceutical type of thing.
Yeah, I would agree with you, because I feel like you are messing with somebody's blood pressure medicine. It's not blood pressure medicine, but it's a blood stimulant, right? Because when I was listening to Ocho Cinco talk to Shannon Sharp about how you take those blue diamonds when you play football, he goes, my blood's just pumping, man. I'm running out there, So I don't know. Viewers, you guys can go look for us or comment in the chat if you've seen some blue diamonds at the gas station. Okay, let's move on to mixed martial arts. Okay, we'll talk about Islam Makhachaev taking on Dustin Poirier, and I know recently Dustin Poirier said he's gonna knock him out, and I feel the storyline going in this fight is that I think we all can agree on this is probably Dustin Poirier's last opportunity to become UFC lightweight champion. I mean, he's had multiple opportunities. He's lost to Charles Oliveira. He's lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's gotten so close, but he's come up so short. And I think him taking on Islam, I think Islam's a better version of Khabib, to be honest with you. I think he moves better on the feet than Khabib. I think his grappling is a little bit better than Khabib's, but he's not as aggressive as Khabib. But I think, the story for this one is, can Dustin Poirier become the champion? Because I feel like this is the only thing he needs to check off his box. Obviously, we're talking about, he's made the money with the Conor fights. He's done all amazing interim champion. He's fought for, he was the undercard at UFC 178 when I fought Chris Carriazo, when he fought Conor McGregor the first time. But I feel like this is do or die for Dustin, obviously for the belt circumstances. If he wants to keep on fighting, he can keep on doing it. But I think for him, this is what he feels. And I feel that he needs for his legacy to have that on his UFC tenure or legacy.
100%. This is it. I mean, you can't go 0-3 and get another crack. I mean, I guess you can. They could do whatever they want. And maybe it ends controversially and they have to run it back. But I agree wholeheartedly with your assessment. It's a great story. Who would have thought, 11 months after getting brutally knocked out by Justin Gaethje in Salt Lake City, that he'd be fighting for the belt, right? That he would get to a title shot before Justin Gaethje, and that's a whole other story for a different day. That the decision to not go for that, but here he is after one win, a fight that a lot of people thought he was going to get smoked in, right, against BSD Benoit Saint-Denis. He turns back the clock. He looks great. Saint-Denis comes out, says that he had a gnarly staph infection on his forehead. It sucks. That's the sport, right? Yep. So here's Poirier. And then, DJ, think about the things that had to happen for this to just fall into place. Mm-hmm. Number one, he beats Benoit Saint-Denis. All right, great. Number two, Justin Gaethje gets brutally knocked out by Max Holloway. Yep. Number three, Arman Tsarukyan beats Charles Oliveira. Mm-hmm. Number four, they offer it to Arman Tsarukyan, and Arman says, no, that's too soon. Yep. I want to wait. All those things had to happen. If one of those things goes the other way,
he doesn't get a shot. He doesn't get a shot. Yeah.
And so this is like a Cinderella story right here. And I know you're a pro wrestling guy. Your family likes pro wrestling. There was a big story going into WrestleMania this year. Cody Rhodes. Yep. Will he finish his story?
Yeah.
And so I say to Dustin, will you finish your story, Dustin? El Diamante, will you finish your story? It's right there for the taking.
Well, I think the biggest thing, too, is, like you said, a lot of people who don't follow the sport, and you just named off, 4 or 5 scenarios that had to happen in order for him to get that title shot, right? I think Arman, not taking the fight, he said it was too soon. I think it was smart for him to do that, coming off that fight against Charles Oliveira, because it's like, okay, if you get, where's he at mentally? Where's his body at? Right? Like if he gets right in and rush to a title shot, and then, Islam is fresh, the fight it can favor Islam a lot more. And then you look at Justin Gaethje, nobody could ever foresee Max Holloway, I felt Max was going to beat him. I didn't think Max was going to beat him that bad, and then obviously knock him out. And I think it's good that Justin Gaethje's taking some time off from the fight game to let his brain heal, because each time he's fight recently, there's some fights he gets in there. I think the last time I felt he got in there and he didn't get rocked pretty hard was when he fought Tony Ferguson. But, when you look when he fought Charles Oliveira, he fought Dustin Poirier, when he fought Eddie Alvarez, each time that man gets in there, he's always throwing them hands and he's always getting rocked. So I thought it was good that, well, nobody foresaw that. Obviously, Max Holloway is going to go up to 170 and fight Islam Makhachaev. He's going to go back down and fight Ilia Topuria, which I hear that's going to be the next fight. So all these opportunities, and then obviously Dustin Poirier beats BSD, gets the opportunity to do that. But it's just crazy how you come off a loss, get one win, some things happen, and then boom, you get the title shot. And yeah, like I agree with you. Is he going to be able to finish his story like Cody Rhodes did at WrestleMania? I was so sad. I know we're switching the page. I was sad when fucking Roman Reigns lost. Like,
why?
Just because I felt Roman Reigns, he carried. I felt like the Bloodlines, Roman Reigns, you know, Jimmy J, The Rock. I felt like he carried so much, and that belt was so heavy for him. So when he lost, I mean, first off, that match was absolutely amazing. Night 1 and night 2 was absolutely amazing. Like I was never that excited to watch wrestling in a very, very long time. So when he lost and I saw Paul Heyman embrace him, and you can see that's just a big letdown, especially all the things he's gone through with the chemotherapy and his cancer. I just felt like it was a huge... it
was all 4 years. He was champ for 4 years.
I know. But I was sad though, man.
I think it's DJ projecting himself onto Roman Reigns. That's what it is.
Is that what this is?
DJ, how long was your UFC title reign?
It was 6 years, and I cried in the bathroom afterwards. So yeah.
Wait a second. I feel like I've heard all the DJ stories. What you said, you cried in the bathroom afterwards?
Yeah. After, so I never like to let people see me in public, like not when you're weak, but you know, after that fight, you know. A lot of things happen when you lose, when you're champion or whatnot. Your pay gets cut in half. You never know what's going to happen to you. Is your brand still good or whatnot? And I remember after the fight, we did the press conference. My popliteus and my LCL was torn, not torn off, but it's probably level 1, level 2. We go back to the hotel, and then I remember locking myself in the bathroom, and I look in the mirror, and I just fucking lost it because it was a tough fight. My reign ended. And, you know, if I would have been successful, I would have gone to 12 consecutive title defenses. And, you know, things happen. It's like right off the bat, you lose your fight. It's like, boom, half your pay is gone. Next time you fight, you're not getting $380,000. You're getting fucking 150. So you've just lost. And, you know, like, let's take a look at this, right? You go out there, you put on an amazing fucking fight. Everybody's on their feet, back and forth, and the champion ends up losing. And then once you lose, it's not like I didn't do a good job or I didn't perform or the fans weren't excited, but already you lose half your fucking pay right off the bat. And then you come back and it's like that hits you. That hit me when I was in the bathroom. And then it's like, man, what's our brand going to be like? And yeah, so I kind of felt the same way when Roman Reigns kind of, you know, had to let Cody finish his fucking story.
Yeah, well, he has a movie that he's doing now, so maybe that played into it. But what's interesting about the story that you just told is I feel like the narrative post Cejudo fight, that second Cejudo fight, was always that like, oh, look at DJ, he was so happy, you know, heavy is the head that wears the crown. I mean, I feel like I even said it, just sort of looking at your body language, like he knew he was going to leave. This freed him up to go to one championship. So I've never heard that story. I've never heard how much it hurt you and how much it meant to you to be champion and to hold on to that belt. Because let's be honest, if you win that fight, the trade doesn't happen, right?
Oh yeah, the trade never happens. But I think why the cheers came is because I'm a competitor. I'm an athlete. You always want to win, right? Like besides the business side of mixed martial arts, there's two sides here. There's a business side and there's an athlete side, right? Whatever I do in a competition, when I go to Worlds this year, and it's gonna be our first time competing as a black belt, you know, if I lose, of course, I'm going to be sad. I don't think I'm going to shed a tear, but I felt like at that time, you know, I'm what, 20, no, I'm not 20, I'm like 30, 34, 30, 33. I'm at the peak of my career. I'm about to fight somebody I beat already. Back and forth fight. I thought I won. The judge thought he won. It goes back and forth. And you just never know what's going to happen afterwards, right? Like we do the press conference, you know, obviously I was sad, but I didn't want to show the world that I was sad, right? I was basically hiding my vulnerability. And then when I got back to the room, I just let it all go. And then Matt was like, hey, man, I'm proud of you. Like, it's part of the game. And, you know, we've done some amazing things, 11 consecutive title defenses. You've done some amazing submissions, amazing records, da-da-da-da. And then after that, you know, I go back home, give birth to my third child, Tainted, and then that's when things started to roll for me to have the opportunity. But you're right. If I would have never lost that fight, I probably would still be in the UFC and God know what, fighting for more money. I have no idea. Like, that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me in my career is fucking losing.
It is weird. The sliding doors, right?
Yes.
The sliding doors of if you retain the title, what happens, and what happens to Askren, and then what happens with Masvidal and all that. And then, of course, for your career, like, it's so crazy what that one result led to. But I mean, like, you did it all. It all worked out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just
tenfold. It's worked out tenfolds. I mean, that's the one thing I always say. Like, I talk about in other episodes and just in general. It's like right now, to be an athlete in combat, it's the best time. You can box, you can do jiu-jitsu, you can do fucking wrestling if they'll allow you to. Where I felt like if I was to stay, or if I wanted to, I could do Muay Thai. I'm doing IBJJF now, so I felt like if I would have stayed in the UFC, I felt like my brand and my creativity would have stayed under wraps. Where when I went to one, they marketed me. I felt like they appreciated me, the fans did, and they understood my style of how I go about my career, right? And I would have never been able to have the opportunity to fight Rodtang and all the other things that I could, or if I wanted to do.
I still just love the fact, like, the thing I love the most is that you are now infinitely more popular than you were when you were crushing.
I don't know why.
Thing. It's the craziest thing.
I honestly don't know why. Like, it's funny.
I love it.
I think, I don't know. Like, I think, like we were talking yesterday, like when you look at mixed martial arts back in I felt like the peak of MMA, my personal opinion, where I loved it the most was probably 2011 to 2000 and maybe I'll say 18 or 19. Reason why is because you had Pride, you had Strikeforce, you had Dream, you had, champions fighting all the time. You had Conor fighting all the time. You had Jose fighting all the time. You had Chad Mendez. You had your right favorite. You had Joseph Benavidez. You had Dominic Cruz. You had myself.
Funny how you just mentioned all the small guys, by the way.
Hey, calm down. Let me finish now. I'm getting the fatter guys. You had Lou Rocco. You had Chris Weidman.
Chris Carriasso. Ali Bagotinov.
Yeah, Kyoji Horiguchi. You had Anthony Pettis, Ben Henderson, Nate Diaz fighting. You had so many bigger personalities. Yoel Romero was fighting. Izzy was fighting. I already said Luke. You had John Jones fighting all the time. Leonardo Machida, Vanderlei Silva, Rampage Jackson, Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, Rich Franklin, Anderson Silva. You just had fucking everybody with Brock Lesnar, Frank. I mean, it was just a fucking who's who in every division. And a card would have banger after banger after banger, right? You wouldn't just have like, you look at the UFC coming up, you have, the main event and co-main event. Other than that, I don't think anybody else is excited. And that's no disrespect to any of the athletes on there, but they just haven't had the opportunity to build their brand. But back in the past, I mean, you just had so many fucking sick fights. You had Ronda Rousey taking on Betch Koheda. I wonder what Betch Koheda is doing right now. But you just had so many bigger personalities back in that time frame when I felt like that was like it was just money.
But guess what? Sorry, I just want to say, guess what? They're making a hell of a lot more money now. They're breaking records. The sport has never been more popular. The ratings are up. Everything is up. And so you're right, but it is amazing when you consider where they're at now. Like, they just had a fight night in where was that fight night? In St. Louis. And it was Derek Lewis against Rodrigo Nascimento as the main event. And it now, as of right this moment, is the highest grossing fight night in UFC history. Think about that. Wow. Fight night. Like over $2 million gate. And we've had fight nights before that have been headlined by Dominic Cruz versus TJ Dillashaw for the title.
Yeah.
We have headlines. We've had fight nights headlined by you as champion.
Yeah.
We've had fight nights headlined by Conor McGregor. And Derek Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento in the year 2024 is the highest grossing fight night right now. And guess what? They'll go to Louisville next month and they'll break that record. So they're crushing it. They're absolutely crushing it.
Well, I also think that now you don't have, like, when I think about it, I fought 3 times in 1 year and I had surgery and defended my belt. January against John Dodson. Then I had surgery. Then I fought in July against John Moraga in Seattle. And then in December, I fought Joseph Benavidez in Sacramento. So that's 3 times in a year. I think the last time a champion has done that in today's era is Adesanya. Like he was fucking just running it. Where I think
Volk.
Oh yeah, Volkanovski as well. He did it. But I feel like there's a period now where you just said the UFC just sold out the highest grossing gate. They don't have to make those champions fight as much, right? I'd rather say the champions for the cards that I need help with, like the UFC 306 or 308, the Sphere, where if I could just throw, some decent names on an Apex Center and they still do good views and still make good numbers, why do the champions have to fight as much? So that's why I think
because all three of those fights were fight nights, right?
Yeah.
Dotson was Chicago Fight Night on Fox. Moraga was Seattle Fight Night, and Benavidez.
I like to call myself, I was a UFC Fox era athlete. I was a UFC Fox champion because I was always.
But that was the whole point of it.
Yeah,
but that was the whole point of it. It should have been a blessing to fight in front of 4 million people on Fox.
Yeah.
But the business structure, it's like, it's a weird thing because it ended up being. I understood what they were doing because they were putting the guys who maybe weren't pay-per-view draws off the jump on Fox to hopefully get you to connect with a larger audience so that they eventually buy the pay-per-views with you involved. But it never really shook out that way. Like Benson, the same, right? It never really happened.
Breaking news that has nothing to do with this, but Gegard Moussasi just got released by PFL Bellator. So.
Okay, so this is weird because you told me that this is coming out next week. So how is this breaking news?
Well, to time it, I mean, well, yeah. Well, hey, no, it's perfect. It's a segue because I saw that he was talking about it, right? And I'm happy that he says, hey, I'm not happy with the PFL and Bellator logistics, what's going on, and I'm happy that they let him go, right? And this one thing I love about you too, Ariel, is that you defend people when you think things aren't right. And I saw what you posted about Ariel Helwani, and I saw what Don Davis said about LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. Yeah, but Kayla Harrison, yes. Where it's like, no, I agree with her. Like, money can only go so far. Like, I feel like Conor McGregor is the perfect example where there's one thing I'll always respect about Conor is that he's made so much money, he doesn't have to fight anymore. He doesn't have to fight. If he wanted to, he could probably buy his way in to have equity in the fucking UFC, TKO, right? All he has to do is just buy a whole bunch of fucking stock. So I'm sure, what's his name? The guy that owns, who's the guy who owns fucking William Morrison?
Ari Emanuel.
Yeah, I'm sure if
he
Conor
doesn't technically own it, but he's like the highest guy there.
Yeah, he's the highest guy. I'm sure if Conor wanted to own equity in the UFC and be people's bosses, I'm sure that he can have enough money to buy his way into it. So the fact that he's coming back after a long layoff to fight Michael Chandler for like what is he going to gain? More money? He's got that, more popularity. He's the most popular guy in mixed martial arts. So for him to come back and fight, that speaks a lot about his character and how he just wants to fight. And I kind of see that with Kayla Harrison. I don't see anything that she can gain in fighting with PFL. She's been a champion. Yes, she did.
Crazy, man. Don't get me started on this. This is crazy to me. When I saw that, first of all, it's so crazy to me on so many different levels because number one, the analogy doesn't even fit. What he's trying to say is that there are some people who like to be the big dog and they want to be the man, so to speak, and they want the whole thing being built around them. And he's saying that LeBron is that guy. Well, first of all, LeBron left Cleveland to go join Miami and create a super team, and thus he won 2 championships with Miami. So it doesn't really fit there. But he's taking a shot at Kayla, and he's saying Kayla is more Kevin Durant, who's still a great player, still a great athlete, but Kevin Durant had to go join a team that had just won 73 games, the Golden State Warriors, and lost in the finals. And the only way that Kevin Durant could win a championship is by joining this superpower and to gain the validation of the NBA world, which didn't work out as well because everyone hated him for doing it, is to go there. And Kayla's doing the same. She is going to join the Golden State Warriors by going to the UFC. Well, the analogy doesn't work for multiple reasons. Number one, Kayla Harrison had already won championships with PFL. She had already reached the mountain twice with them. And so you could say there's still big fights for her in the PFL. Sure, there will be big fights for her from now until the cows come home. There's big fights for you in one championship. There's big fights for John Jones in UFC, but there's always going to be another person.
Of course.
So who's the big fight? Oh, Larissa Pacheco. She beat her in PFL. Guess what? Kayla beat her twice. So you want them to fight for a fourth time? None of those fights drew a dime. So you want her to fight for a fourth time and beat her 3 times out of 4 times? Big freaking deal. Okay, what's big fight number 2? Chris Cyborg. All right, well, first of all, as of right this moment, Chris Cyborg isn't on the same page as the PFL, and she's openly complaining about them too. There's no guarantee that fight would ever happen as well. What's big fight number 3? There isn't one. Okay, now let's compare it to the UFC, where you have a slew of new blood, a slew of new faces. You have the likes of Holly Holm, who she just beat. You have Raquel Pennington, you have Juliana Pena, and on it goes. And oh, by the way, on top of all of that, you have arguably the greatest female fighter of all time just chilling over there asking to fight you, right? Amanda Nunes, the moment Kayla Harrison beats Holly Holm, is posting on social media like, oh, interesting, you didn't call me out. And this is the part that blows my mind the most, DJ, of all of this. I like Donn Davis a lot. I think that what they're doing, they're number 2. God bless, he has brought some life to, I talk about characters, I talk about promoters, it's great. But if you want to be known as the fighter first organization, if you want to be known as you can't be taking shots at a gold medalist, a 2-time gold medalist, a 2-time champion in your organization. You can't be doing that. You need to do what Scott Coker did when Michael Chandler left, who was the face of Bellator. Like, hey, good luck. We wish you the best. We'll be rooting for you. And the part that doesn't sit with me the most, and I'll be honest with you, I had a bit of a text conversation with Donn after I tweeted this, and I'm not going to talk about what we talked about, but what I tried to explain to him, I'll say this is what I was saying to him. I won't say what he said to me, but what I was saying to him was, you need to recognize, we could debate who's tougher, Pacheco or Holm, Cyborg or Nunes. We could debate this all you want. But here's what you're missing. This is the point. Kayla Harrison going from 155 to 135 is a challenge that is greater than all these people combined. That's the part that you're missing. The fact that this woman has not even walked around the earth in the 130s since she was a teenager, and now with nothing really left to prove in her athletic career, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time PFL champion, all that, she is now cutting. You saw how she looked on the scale.
She looked great. She looked shredded.
That challenge alone is worth our respect, right? You have to tip your cap that she is depriving herself to get down to 135. You need to recognize that, Donn. You need to recognize that, and you have to respect that. And the fact that you're not, to me, will only tell other fighters and fans like, hey, maybe this guy doesn't get it. Maybe he's not one of us. Because MMA fans, they love you when they think that you're one of us, that you understand and appreciate the sport. MMA fans, especially the ones that live online on YouTube, they always want MMA to still be that like small time thing that doesn't quite make like that band that is still playing in small shows. And yeah, it's nice when they make it to MSG and when they make, but like it's our little baby, because there was once a time where no one covered this sport, when no one talked about the sport. It was our cool thing. It was like you had to go on the forums, the UG, Sherdog, and then we see people on the outside come in and start taking shots at like legends, gold medalists, and you're like, man,
what the fuck?
You're new. You can't do that.
Well, I think the biggest scene with Kayla, like, it just shows, it speaks that she wants, like, out of everybody, right? Like, UFC is the biggest mixed martial arts organization, right? Like, I was talking to some dude and he goes, oh man, I fight for the UFC, and everybody goes, oh, so he's really good. And I was like, I guess. I mean, I don't know if he's good or not. Let me grapple him. And I grappled, and I armbarred him like 5 times. Like, no, he's not really that good. But they're like, but he fights for the UFC. I think it's that premiere, right? And I think if Kayla Harrison, with her going to the UFC, cut it to 135 and have an opportunity to become a world champion in the UFC, I mean, it's just going to magnify her legacy.
It's her being thing left.
It's the last thing left, right? Like her finishing her story.
Who's knocking anyone? Who's knocking anyone going to the UFC? Like, let's be real. Yeah. The UFC is the pinnacle of mixed martial arts. Who is saying otherwise? The only people who are saying otherwise are people who are maybe, running PFL, running one championship. Yep. That's it, right? Yep. The UFC is the UFC. It's the end all be all. It's the NFL. You have to recognize that.
Yep.
What athlete does not take this opportunity to fight at UFC 300, to debut on UFC 300, and to maybe fight for the belt next? Like, that's the last thing left for her.
Yeah.
Everything else has been checked off.
Especially if you have all the money. Right? Like that's why we refer back to Conor. Connor's got all the money. So it's like, I'm just going to go fight for fun. And shit's giggles. For Kayla Harrison, I'm sure she made a shitload of money at PFL.
Yeah, they treated her well.
And now she's got all the money. She goes, okay, the one thing that I'm missing The only thing that I'm missing to have my legacy be cemented as one of the best ever to do it in the world is a UFC championship, right? And that's what thing, like, it's funny, like when I'm working in all these different entrepreneur space and having different businesses that I'm working with, it's like, stop trying to compete with everybody. Everybody has their own flavor. It's like one championship undoubtedly has the best strikers on the planet Earth when it comes to kickboxing and Muay Thai. And when it comes to, grappling, it's hard to say. I'm being straight fucking honest. It's very hard because you get guys like Jeremy Kennedy, you guys got Craig Jones, Gordon Ryan. You have so many fucking you have so many good grapplers that are competing every single week in IBJJF, ADCC, the Open in San Diego, Open in New York. So it's very hard to say, but I full-heartedly say that one championship has the best kickboxer and Muay Thai guys on the earth. I feel comfortable saying UFC has the best mixed martial artists on the earth, from flyweight all the way to middleweight. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe Anatoly, the one championship, heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion, and shit, he might be the middleweight champion. He's a 3-divisional champion. I do believe he can beat probably the top 5 in the UFC at light heavyweight. Like, I truly believe that. I think he will beat the bricks off fucking Jamal Hill. Like, and I love Jamal Hill. I just think he hasn't had that opportunity. But I agree with you. Mixed martial arts, the pinnacle is the UFC. Striking, kickboxing, Muay Thai, it is one championship. PFL, I'm not sure what they got going on. They have a little tournament style thing going on. They have some great athletes, and so does Ryzen. Ryzen has Kyoji Horiguchi. They have Sergio Pettis, right? That's the thing. It's hard for me is like when I stand back as a viewer and an athlete, it's like, and I look at this sport differently where it's like organizations different. Where it's like, well, we're better than this sport. We're better than this organization. We're better. It's like, you guys are all different. Everybody's different. The one that has the most flavor, the most things on the menu is one championship. They have grappling, mixed martial arts, kickboxing, Muay Thai, even boxing, UFC. It's all mixed martial arts. PFL, it's all mixed martial arts. They have the tournament season. They have all that stuff.
Yeah, that's their difference.
That's their difference. And you have ADCC, which is all grappling without the gi. You have IBJJF that does grappling in the gi and also no gi grappling. You have ADXC, which is pure grappling and no grappling. It's like everybody has different flavors, and it's a good time to be a fan of the sport where you can go. But to bring it back to context, where I feel the pinnacle of mixed martial arts, to have that, everybody's always going to say this. When you retire as an MMA fighter, as an athlete here in America, and they say, hey, man, what did you do for a living? Everybody asks me, man, well, I usually lie to people like, man, what do you do for a living, Demetrious? I'm like, well, I like to lie to them first. I say pharmaceutical, or I work for NASA. And then when it goes to the next thing, I say, oh, I do mixed martial arts. The first thing they ask me, oh, did you fight for the UFC? And I'm like, I say, yes, I did. And I'm like, oh, were you a champion in the UFC? I'm like, yes, I was.
Yeah, you were.
I say, yes, I was. And I'm like, you must be really good. Now, I've heard other people say, they don't ask, oh, were you champion in Bellator? Oh, were you champion in PFL? Oh, were you champion in America? Nah. Right? We live in America, and that's how it is. So I think Kayla Harrison going on this crusade and taking betting on herself, dropping to 135, fighting UFC, trying to get that legitimacy and added to her legacy. I think it's probably the smartest.
It's only commendable.
Exactly.
And by the way, even if the talent over there was really, really bad, even if it was really bad, who is denying that going to the UFC isn't the right move, right? Look at what it has done for Michael Chandler.
Yeah,
going to the UFC.
I mean,
look how much more popular and famous he is now.
Exactly.
And there's no one who says, I'm leaving the UFC because it's my lifelong dream to be the one championship champion. No one says that. No one says it's my lifelong dream to be the Bellator champion or the PFL champion. The UFC has been around the longest.
Yep.
And so even if it was easy, which it's not, I would still commend her. But oh yeah, you're forgetting about the fact that she's fighting at 135. The first time I spoke to Kayla Harrison, she said she would have to cut off both legs to make 135. And now she made it. And she's fighting at 135. And oh, by the way, if she wins one more, it's maybe the biggest female fight of all time. It's her versus Amanda Nunes in Amanda's comeback fight after retiring as double champ. Like, what are we talking about here? Kayla Harrison was on a PFL pay-per-view, which I don't think they should be in the pay-per-view business. I think it's a mistake. And I think it's sold, I'm going to be kind and say 15K. I don't even think it did 50K, but I want to be kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, what are we talking about? Your life would be dramatically different if you're UFC champion. You got to do it.
Yeah, I think when it comes to pay-per-view, this is segueing off a little bit. What do you think UFC 301 did in pay-per-view buys?
That was a tough one. It didn't have like a massive draw in it. Obviously, Aldo being added to it was big. Pantoja, not a household name. Also, and I don't know, like I was talking about the Venn diagram. I don't know how much this affects, but it was going up against Canelo, and Canelo is one of the few boxers that does cross over. Like if you had to pick one, are you going for the
Canelo
the all
or
Mexican showdown? You know, it was going up against it exact same time on DAZN pay-per-view. So if I had to guess, I don't know. I'm just guessing, right? By the way, do you know?
No, I don't know. I just want to know what you say.
I'm going to say like 175 to 200
Okay.
to 250
Okay.
in that range.
Okay.
Which, by the way, isn't a bad number.
And today, whoa. If that number was back when I was fighting, that was horrible, right? Because that number would be horrible. Especially if you got pay-per-view points, you wouldn't even get any pay-per-view points. You wouldn't get an extra check for pay-per-view points, right? So I always have to gauge it. Like they always say different eras. And I think when it comes to the pay-per-view era, it's very rare to be successful pay-per-view draw unless it's a big, one, you got a big name and it's a big fight, right? So I don't know why.
Yeah.
I only made me think about that because you said, Kayla, PFL shouldn't be in the pay-per-view business. And there's a part of me where I feel a lot of...
No one should be except for the UFC.
Well, I think a lot of people are going to go away from that just because with Netflix, you know, Amazon, they're trying to grab all of like content is king, right? The more content you have on your platform, the more eyeballs you're going to be able to get. So if Netflix was to do a deal with the UFC, say, hey, we want all your, here's $50 billion. We get to, you know, host all of your pay-per-views and all your fights. Kind of like what they did with the WWE. Right? Like, I don't know when it starts, but WWE Monday Night Raw is going to be streamed on Netflix.
2025. January.
2025. So it's like...
It's going to be huge.
It's massive, right? So I can see that, like, I feel as time and illegal streaming gets more out of hand, I bet you we can see a deal like that being done for the bigger promotions. Like, Amazon has one championship. You know, UFC still has pay-per-view. PFL still has pay-per-view. So we'll see. Ariel, tell me about your show you got on the road. It's coming up. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the show, baby. Let's talk about your show.
Okay, so May 31st, the night before Dustin potentially finishes the story. In Brick City, Newark to be exact, just a stone's throw away from the Prudential Center, which is where, of course, UFC 302 is happening on June 1st. I'll be doing another road show. I call them road shows, where we do these live events, if you will, in front of an audience, in front of a crowd, and it's very fun. This will be the 5th. I don't know. Did you ever come to any of them?
I didn't. No, I never got invited. This is the first time I ever got invited.
This is such bullshit because you were invited to the last one in New York and you turned me down, and you were invited to this one.
Did it? No, I didn't.
I even said I would fly you out. That's how badly I'd want you involved.
This one, yes, I can't come. But the last one,
I'm going to do one in Seattle.
You do one in Seattle? I'm fucking there, dude. I'm there.
I would love to go back to Seattle. I love Seattle. Anyway, May 31st, the night before, at the NJ Pack, which is a beautiful venue, and I'm a little bit nervous because it's the biggest and nicest and classiest venue that we've ever done any of these. It's going down, another Helwani Roadshow, 8 p.m. The pinned tweet on my Twitter profile has all the information. Also in my Instagram, the link there is to get tickets. And also, if you just go to the njpack.org website, you put in my name, Helwani, and it pops up. Now, here's what's really fun about this. It's not just me up there waxing poetic. We're going to have guests who are fighters. I like to keep the guests surprised because I like to build them up and say, they're here. So we did one in November in New York, and like Cheeto, when I did the build up for Cheeto and no one knew he was coming, and then it's like, this man's fighting for the belt at UFC 299. The place went freaking nuts. So I like that. As of right this moment, we have 3 guests confirmed, hoping for 4. I could tell you one of them is a current UFC title challenger.
Okay.
One of them is a former UFC title challenger. And I will say the third one, here's a good little hint. We have said their name on today's episode.
Kelly Harrison.
Okay. I can't confirm nor deny.
I just threw that out there.
And here's the best part about it all. Big venue, interaction, giveaways, meet and greet, all that stuff. njpack.org. You can get the tickets. Please come support. I'm a very anxious person. The best part about it all is we've been talking about what's the theme of next weekend. It's really a celebration of Dustin Poirier, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Islam Makhachaev. In my opinion, he's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He's incredible, and his evolution has been incredible as well. But it's Dustin's last shot, and the OG fans have a soft spot in their heart for Dustin. And so all proceeds from this event, every dime that is made off of ticket sales, will be donated from me to the Good Fight Foundation, which is the charity that was started by Dustin and his wonderful wife, Jolie, where they give back to the community in Lafayette, Louisiana. I've always been so impressed with what they do. You know, he always has like his kit that he'll donate, and then he gives it to like a back to school drive where they build a new like a swing set or a playground, or they do stuff for kids. I love this, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club over there. And so I've always wanted to kind of help. I love doing stuff like that. And so, look, it's not going to be a gazillion dollars, but hopefully we sell a bunch of tickets and all that money will go to the Good Fight Foundation. And
if they can't go there live, they can watch it on the YouTube channel?
It is in person only. You have
really?
To be there.
Oh,
you have to be there. All right. So
okay,
it's not for the people online. It's in person. And by the way, if you want to donate, you could buy a ticket and all that money is going to them if you can't make it. But no, it's just for the people in attendance. And I think that's kind of cool. One night only.
Absolutely.
You got to be there.
Absolutely. It's a special thing. Nowadays, everybody, the urgency to see things nowadays, there is an urgency because I'll just catch it on video on demand, or I'll just catch it later or whatnot. So I think it's kind of cool you're doing that, and it's a cool thing that you're giving back to his foundation, which is absolutely amazing as well. Michael, you got anything for my man? We got anything for Ariel?
This was supposed to be a pay-per-view preview. We didn't really talk about it much, but quick thoughts.
We talked about Dustin Poirier for like 45 fucking minutes.
Get him, Ariel! Get him!
No, but one fight I did want to touch on, because they're both very much darlings of the internet community of both YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, whatever you want to say. Paulo Costa versus Sean Strickland.
Oh yeah,
I think that fight is super interesting, not just from a personality standpoint, but also a fight standpoint. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
I love the fight because there's a lot of pressure on Sean's shoulders. As you know, we talked about earlier. I don't know if you were paying attention, but we also talked about that fight too, Mike. Welcome to the show. Sean Strickland, nice reign. Izzy, one fight, he wins. He then loses to DDP. So I think there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders here. I thought Paulo Costa looked good in his last fight, especially considering the layoff. We didn't really know where he'd be. He had the super gnarly staph infection in his elbow that forced him to withdraw from the Khamzat fight back in October. So I love this fight. I love the matchmaking. Both guys have a history with Izzy. Both guys are probably in the top 5 at 185. I think that if the Sean Strickland who beat Izzy shows up, I think he should win. Mm-hmm. But if, the Sean Strickland who kind of took a while to get going against DDP shows up, like you can't sit back against Paulo. Like that is a big boy who hits very hard, who continues to evolve. I don't feel like we have seen the best of Paulo Costa. Maybe that's a crazy thing, but like I still feel like he's a work in progress. I still feel like he's a piece of clay that needs to be molded a little bit. So it feels like a 50-50 fight. It is a 5-round fight, which I would say favors Sean Strickland.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it is a 5-round fight. So I think that favors Sean Strickland. I think he has the better gas tank. I think he could go a little bit further. So perhaps that's why they agreed to it on Strickland's end.
I wonder why it's a 5-round fight, because I don't know if there's any title stipulations or tied to this.
There's no real rhyme or reason why they do these 5-round fights, right? Like why
they make all the fucking fights 5-round fights then? Like
Poirier BSD was a 5-round fight, and at the time it wasn't labeled as a #1 contender fight.
But it was the main event, wasn't it?
Nah, it was under Cheeto and Suga.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, we had Chael on the podcast recently, and he was talking about the interim champion, how we make these rules up as we fucking go, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like
100%.
Like, yeah, this is a 5-round fight. The first fight in the card is gonna be 5-round fight, 5 minutes. It's like they just make your rules up. So I thought it was 3 rounds, 5 minutes.
Does that change your opinion?
Yeah, I think it does. I think now going into the fight, if Sean Strickland can put the pressure, one of the things that Sean Strickland does so well is that he walks people down. Like he walks him down, closes the void, and just starts throwing little strikes and little PD stuff and closes people down. A lot of people don't wrestle him. A lot of people don't body kick him. Like if you throw a body kick on somebody, they have like 3 options. They either eat it and try to counter you, they eat it, or they get the hell out, or they catch it. So forth. Excuse me. And I don't know. Like I just feel if it's a 5-round fight, I think it favors Sean Strickland a lot more. Granted, I feel the eraser hits harder and is a lot faster. And I agree with you. We haven't seen the best Paulo yet. I think when he fought Robert Whittaker, I think we saw glimpses of it because that fight between him and Robert Whittaker was absolutely fucking amazing. The Bobby Knuckles is just a tough son of a bitch and great athlete. But I think if that Paulo Costa shows up against Sean Strickland, I think Costa wins. But once again, it depends who shows up and can he get him out of there? Can he go 5 rounds? We'll find out.
I love it. Those 2 fights are great. As you mentioned, maybe not the deepest card of all time, but there's so much coming up. There's June 29th pay-per-view. Yep. Then there's July 27th pay-per-view.
You got Jake Paul. You got Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson.
I'm just talking about in the UFC. So they've got to spread the love.
Yeah. I guess spread the love.
June 22nd in Saudi.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Ariel.
One.
What other brain busters you got?
No, not as much a brain buster, but you brought up some future cards. We got UFC 304 Manchester. We got Chael's take on this, so I want your take too. What's your take on the Jon Jones heavyweight title situation and the interim title? Do you think the route the UFC took made the most sense, or would you have gone about a different way?
Yeah, 100%. I tend to believe that if you don't, this is kind of like an arbitrary rule that I made up, but if you don't defend the title for a year, they should move on. And I know he got injured. I understand that, but them's the breaks. It happens. So holding on to it for a title fight between, a guy who's only fought once at heavyweight and has only fought once since 2020 against a guy who, by the time this fight happens, will have not fought for, almost 3 years. Is a little bit funky, especially when you have a guy like Tom Aspinall who is just like incredible and the future of the heavyweight division, in my opinion. So what I would have done was, I don't think Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic needs a title. It's just like a fun legacy fight. Greatest light heavyweight champion of all time against most decorated heavyweight champion of all time. You don't need a belt.
Yep.
And especially because those guys are at the tail end of their careers. Like there's a chance Stipe wins that fight and retires. And so you've just held on to that title for what? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, it's weird, it's clunky, but I think what Tom is doing is the best thing. Just move on. You're an interim champ. You're still going to get pay-per-view points. You still have that gold around your waist. Just act like it, own it. Just like when Conor beat Chad Mendes, he said, "I'm the real champ." You freaking say it. Perception is reality. Everyone starts parroting it as well, and people get behind that. And so to me, it feels like he's the people's champ in many respects. The Blades fight makes sense. Right that wrong of 2 years ago. Get on the microphone, say I got next, be in the front row at MSG, and you fight the winner. And if they don't want to fight you after that, then how could they not be stripped?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. I'm not one of these people who says Jon Jones has to fight Tom Aspinall. There's always going to be someone has to fight. It's like Canelo's going through this right now. Everyone's saying he has to fight David Benavidez. He has to fight this guy. He has to fight that guy. He shouldn't fight this guy and that guy. And I'm like, yo, Canelo fought 60 times. He's allowed to pick and choose at this point. And the same goes with Jon Jones. But I would remind Jones and some of his fans that there was once a time where the Shogun Huas of the world fought a young guy named Jon Jones, and the Rampages fought him. And, those older guys fought the younger guy. And so that's kind of how this is supposed to work, the circle of life. It's supposed to just be this cyclical thing. If he doesn't want to partake in that, it's his right. It's his body. It's his life. But the train has to keep rolling along. It just has to. And belts aren't supposed to be, they're not supposed to be like lifetime achievement awards. It's supposed to be who's the baddest guy right now in that weight class. And I think it's Tom Aspinall. And so I would like to see him be crowned undisputed champion. But for now, I'm not going to get hung up over it because it's happened 3 times before in the heavyweight division and 1 time before in the bantamweight division. And so this isn't unprecedented. It's just a little bit clunky.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if I was Tom Aspinall, I think you'd probably take a page out of Conor McGregor's book when you said it's perception. It's like, if you're Tom Aspinall, I'll be like, this is the real fucking belt. He goes, John Jones hurt his titty, and now he's about to fight a man who hasn't fought in fucking like 3 years. What the fuck is this? I mean, the last time the guy fought was fucking, he got knocked out by a boxer who just got knocked out by the heavyweight boxer. He goes, don't believe in that belt that John Jones has. That belt is fucking nothing, mate. He goes, this belt right here, make no mistake, this is the real heavyweight championship of the world. Okay, that's how I would spin it. This is some kind of
impersonation right here. This is
I know, right?
That's a little bit more Irish than British. But
I don't know what it was. It was something.
No, I said I'll take a page out of Conor. Out of Conor. So that's how I'll flip it.
Okay.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think that legacy fight between Stipe and Jones doesn't need a belt, right? I think Jones would still sell. I don't think his pay or people's perception of John Jones matters if he has a belt or not, right? I think he'll still sell.
No, he can still headline MSG without the belt.
He can still headline, and I'm sure we've seen people do it before, right? I mean, I don't think we've seen it done before, but I think he could be the one person who can make that happen. So we'll see what happens. And I don't feel bad for Tom, but I feel bad for when it's just like, okay, we're just waiting here to see what happens. And there could be a part of it where John Jones, he beats Stipe, and then he's like, hey, I'm going to fight Tom now, right? Who knows, right? We're just all waiting at the edge of our seat to see how this unfolds.
Yep.
Yeah, so lastly, I wanted to say, everyone, they'll still have a chance to buy, right? This is going to come out on Tuesday, the Ariel Helwani and Friends
unless we're sold out by then, but yeah. Appreciate it.
Everyone go. It is this Friday, 8 p.m., surprise guests. We'll see. Maybe even DJ will take a last minute flight. Yeah.
Maybe this was all just a big ruse.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the episode of the Mighty Cast. Shout out to Ariel Helwani for coming on here and vibing out with us, man. We just wanted to catch up. We're supposed to do it in Vegas, but I had a show.
We did do it. It was on my turf, but yeah, it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot you. We get you Sandhagen basketball. We're gonna get that set up.
Yeah.
Oh,
dude,
you beat him.
Dude, you fucking beat him. You beat him easily.
This guy, I already won. This guy's advocating for 21. What?
21.
What are we doing? You want to play 1-on-1 or what? What do you want? A free throw competition? What are we talking about? I already won.
How often do you still play?
I still play. I just played yesterday.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
My driveway.
My money's on you. Money's on you.
First of all, do you know how much I weigh?
165?
That's crazy to me. I weigh about 205.
Damn, you fucking beat. You fucking hitting the weights.
How tall are you, Ariel?
6.5.
He's fucking muscle, man.
That's like a giant next to us.
Yeah, so we're talking about a light heavyweight against a bantamweight. You know what I'm gonna do? You know I'm gonna box this guy out. You know what I'm gonna do? This guy, the elbows.
Oh fuck, we gotta make it happen. We gotta make it happen.
Easy. I invite him. Hey Cory, if you're watching, come to the NJ Pack on Friday, May 31st. I'll get a court out there on the stage, me and you, 1-on-1 for the people, in front of the people. All proceeds go to Dustin. I'll see you there.
Boom. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Mighty Cast. Shout out to our guest, Ariel Helwani. Make sure you get the tickets. Follow his YouTube channel. Follow his Twitter, Instagram. And I am your host, Demetrious Johnson, and my co-host, Michael Wandsrover. We'll see you to the next one. Cheer. Well, damn. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Mighty Recap, where we basically recap everything that we just digested from the guest, and the guest was Ariel Helwani. And I always enjoy having Ariel Helwani on here, but before we go any further, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys notice that Michael Wandsrover has glasses on, the house, the lights are too fucking bright, so don't pay no attention to him. But I think I always enjoy having Ariel on.
I definitely didn't have something on my eye that's making me wear these. But
he's allergic to his dog, ladies and gentlemen. You guys figure out the rest, okay? Okay.
No, my eyes fucked up. So I like the shades, but no, I like that. The lights are just too bright for me. I'm just a little nervous. That's what it is. These lights right here, too bright. Too bright. Ariel Helwani is amazing, right? I think the biggest thing I respect about him is how he was an MMA analyst. That's when I got introduced to him, when he was covering mixed martial arts. Obviously, you worked with him at ESPN, but how he's been able to segue his way from MMA to boxing and doing a little WWE.
that's the biggest thing that I love seeing his brand grow, right? Like when me and you talk, it's like, man, we cover a lot of mixed martial arts, but I can't wait till we start having guests on who aren't even evolved in mixed martial arts whatsoever. So it's always a good chat with him. Well, we can chat all fucking day with him. I think we could probably do a 4-hour podcast with him because he's so knowledgeable, and we all share the same passions with, mixed martial arts, WWE, and storylines.
Yeah, and just so people kind of have a little bit more of context about how I know Ariel, I started working with him at ESPN basically right when he got there. I worked at ESPN for 5.5 years, and I got to say, like, the 2.5 years I worked with him was the most fucking fun. And I'm not just saying that sucking up to him, but we basically would work on Ariel Helwani's MMA show on Monday, and then Ariel and the Bad Guy, and then towards the end there was DC Helwani, but just seeing him firsthand how hard that dude works. And always the thing with Ariel that I say the two things he has that really get him through everything is the hustle and the passion. Like those two qualities that he has, like the dude will out hustle anyone. And he's so passionate about whether it is WWE, boxing, MMA, the Jake Paul stuff, DAZN stuff. He's just so passionate and involved in everything he does, which makes him easy to listen to. And I'm just proud of how far he's gone as someone, not only that I was friends with at ESPN, but just, it's not easy to get to that place. Like, I know he's worked his ass off to get to where he is. So no, it's cool. He's was our first guest, which I thought that was pretty interesting. You weren't sure about it, but I did confirm it. He was the first guest in the history of the Mighty Cast was Ariel Helwani. So I think it helps us kind of look back at stuff and appreciate how far we've come, because we had Ariel on, now we've had all these guys on, and now we're back to having him on again. So like you said, we could have talked to him. Like, I had to just say a bunch of questions at the end because I was like, wait, I want to say this, I want to say this. We could have talked for like 4 hours. I love having that guy on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy how far the Mighty Cast has come. And thank you to all the viewers who keep on coming back and listening to him wherever you guys listen to us right now, either YouTube or Spotify or Apple, iTunes, wherever it is. And I like to go back what you said about Ariel Helwani. He hustles and he's passionate and he's also knowledgeable. That's the biggest thing I love about Ariel Helwani, is that I think he's like an encyclopedia of what goes on in mixed martial arts, or when this happened, who beat who tested positive or whatnot. And he follows the storyline. And I think, how he said that everything's starting to merge together, right? Like, with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, and now you have Dustin Poirier taking on Islam Makhachaev. It's like that storyline is Dustin going to finish that story? And Dustin already came out, can he, if he loses this fight against Islam Makhachev, he can make his way back to another title fight. But what he said was like, I don't think I have it in me. I'm ready to be a father at home. I'm ready to be a husband. I'm ready to live that normal citizen life. And I don't blame him. You spend so many years. I mean, he's fighting longer than I have. I fought for 18 years. And let me tell you right now, if you listen to this, you're going to love being a stay-at-home father, because you wake up every single day, you see your wife, you see your daughter, you take her to school, pick her up from school, you go through the homework, you do all this stuff that you miss when you're in camp, that I'm basically reaping the benefits now for me coming to the end of my career, and you're absolutely going to love it. But I don't blame him. It's to grind our way back up to another title shot. Yeah, fuck that noise. So this is...
You think Dustin Poirier is actually serious? If he loses this Saturday, then we're never going to see Poirier fight again?
I think if he loses this Saturday, I know he would never fight for a title shot again. He would never get a title shot again.
Well, but didn't you see he said he might retire though?
Yeah, he said he might. He said he might retire. You know how it is. Money talks, right? Like, I would say 85%. I would say 75%. If he loses, he retires. I want to give him that 25% wiggle room just in case he does want to come back and the fight makes sense. They can do Conor. If Conor beats Chandler, and then let's say, Dustin loses, and then if he says, Conor is like, your wife's still in my DMs, Dustin, we got to run that back. I was beating the bricks off you the last fight. Dustin will be like, oh, that's an easy fight. I'll come back and make another, couple million. So I was going to give him that 25%. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, we'll do a full pay-per-view preview coming up this week. Should be Thursday or Friday. final predictions. That's where you'll get Demetrious giving his final predictions of who he thinks will actually win: Dustin Poirier, Islam Makhachaev, and also Paulo, Costa, Strickland. So no, I'm excited for that. It almost feels like it's been 2 months since we've seen a UFC pay-per-view, because that's how bad the UFC Brazil card was, if I'm being honest. So like I'm more excited for this pay-per-view than usual, because it almost feels like we haven't had one since 300.
Yeah, I felt like UFC 301 was it wasn't bad. It just didn't have enough star power in it, right? You know, I love Alex Pantoja, Steve Ercik, don't really know much about him. Josie Aldo coming back, him taking on Martin. It was a great card, but, you know, we had somebody who went there and he said was pretty dead in the arena. So, and my professor, he's Brazilian. He was like, a lot of people can't afford the money to go to the shows at Brazil. So, but I agree with you. It's going to be nice and refreshing from UFC 300 to UFC 302. Some bangers. Sean Strickland taking on Paulo Costa, and then Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier. Will he finish his story? We'll find out, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, come back.
I also want to shout out Cesar Almeida. He's a friend of mine. He trained here at Fight Ready. I'm telling you, he's an up-and-coming fighter. He actually fought Alex Pereira 3 times in kickboxing. All 3 went to decision. He actually beat him the second time. So that shows you how legit of a pedigree Cesar has, that he actually beat Alex freaking Pereira in kickboxing. And I want to take some credit actually getting him on Dana White's Contender Series, that we actually filmed Daniel Cormier at Henry Cejudo's house, asking him to help get him on the show.
Caesar,
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, bro. I have more victories against Pereira.
Oh, you beat these dudes?
They are designer, yeah, bro.
You beat Pereira and out of designer? Show them the picture. Tell these dudes.
Let me see.
Oh!
Yes. I am ready for the game, bro.
Wow, right there.
Yes. I am ready for the game, yes.
How many MMA fights you got?
3-0.
But you're ready?
KOs, yes.
Is he ready?
Yes, ready.
This guy's a kid.
I have it for...
Hey, it starts at, Contender Series starts in
August. August, yeah.
August?
Yeah,
Go
August
fight there, knock somebody out, and then get him a real contract.
Yeah. No, he's on it now. He's gonna start it. He's got a persona too. The conquistador.
I don't face.
Clean out. You don't even move though.
Yeah, I don't face.
You Brazilian?
Never knockout. Never KO.
I even did this.
Never been knocked out.
Really?
Yeah, I don't face.
I almost sprawled on his ass.
Yes.
You want to kill him?
Yeah, 185.
Pereira.
Yes.
He's gonna wear a shirt
Yes.
that says, "Hey," he's gonna wear a shirt that has him and him beating Pereira. It's gonna say, "Israel Adesanya, take notes, bitch."
No.
That's what he said. That's what he said he's gonna do.
Serious.
You hear this? Turn this off.
He's going to be the main event of the prelims, actually, the last fight on ESPN. So wanted to shout him out. Take a look at him. I'm telling you, he's 5-0. He's 185. He's going to be a name to look out for in that middleweight division.
All right. Well, I guess I'll have to check him out. Usually, I only watch the fights till it's the co-main and main event, because that's what I'm all about. Is it big dick stuff? You can take that out, Michael. All my gamers would know what that means, but all the people who don't listen to this, all the people who do listen to this and don't play games, I'm like, what is this guy talking about? So yeah, but I think Ariel Helwani, he's doing the road show. That's gonna be dope. So I'm sure it's gonna have a great turnout in Newark. You guys get your tickets. It's only live. You cannot watch it on YouTube. You can't watch it on Twitch, Kick, whatever it may be. He says it's only going to be for the live viewers.
And I was going to say, let us know if that's something that you guys would ever be interested in the future. Not saying we're going to do it next pay-per-view or something, but let us know if there'd ever be interest. If, one day comes, we do a live Mighty Cast, and maybe we have special guests, something like that. Because I think it looks like it's a lot of fun, honestly. But I don't. Oh yeah, I don't know if there's an appetite for it. But let us know if you guys would ever want to do a live show, because I think it'd be a lot of fun if we did it around one pay-per-view.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Maybe in the fall. I know summer, my schedule just fucking booked out. We'll figure it out. But let us know in the comments below. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the Mighty Recap with Ariel Helwani. As always, I am your host, Demetrious Johnson. And as my co-host, Michael Wansover, let us know in the comments below. Does Dustin Poirier finish his story? Does he become the champion right up to the sunset? Or does he fail again to the Eagles, FC, Islam Makhachaev. As always, which catch you guys in the next one.
Actually, before to cut you off before you go, have you seen kind of some people thought you were a little too hard on Strickland in your breakdown?
No.
You didn't see some of those comments? What do you think? What do you think of people that have said that, like, oh man, you were a little bit? They were kind of saying in that breakdown, which
I was too hard.
I love that breakdown, by the way. Like I really liked your breakdown. I think they were kind of saying like how you were talking about his reads and that kind of stuff.
So for me as a mixed martial artist, and when I decided to go down this route, let me go off on the record saying I am not the best fighter in the world, and I am not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, and I try to rectify those mistakes. But when I look at Sean Strickland, his greatest asset that he does very well that I love is that he walks his opponents down. He walks them down, and he beats the shit out of them. Now, this is on a hyper fixation, hypertension level of the void in me when I watch him. When I watch him, he makes these reads. He's making those reads. You can take advantage of them. There's a guy I fought in Alaska. His name is Eddie Brock. He was doing the exact same shit. He was crossing his shit up. He wasn't X-blocking. He was crossing, doing all this shit. You know what happened to him? He got knocked the fuck out because I threw overhand right and I threw a high kick. He was going like this. And I was like, oh, perfect. You're doing this. So pop, knocked him out. So I see those exact same reads when I look at Sean Strickland. It's not like I'm saying he sucks. That's something totally different. He's very good. But when I watch him, those reads are like, these reads are very bad reads. I mean, it's a very bad read. You don't learn that. You don't teach it. It's a very bad habit. And I'm shocked that people aren't able to exploit that. Right? Like, that's the thing about
Alex Pereira did, but yeah, that's
yes, Alex Pereira did. It was like very easy. Like he would jab to the body. He hit it back straight up. He circled, right? That's why you guys come to the channel and watch the breakdowns, is when I sit there and I break things down, everybody was like, oh my God, he's amazing. Look at his beat him. And I was like, no, all you have to do is circle, don't let it push his back to the cage, and then you can kick that forearm, and then you can also, when he starts doing all those reads, throw a long combination and cross the distance, and then then what is he going to do, right? Like, that's how my mind thinks, and that's why I also believe I was successful, not just in mixed martial arts, but also in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, today I did 8 rounds, I went with a black belt, and I beat him. The first round was 7-0, and he was middleweight. He weighed 185. He was first round was 7-0. Second round, I was beat him 9-0. Then I choked him out. And then the third round, I was beating him. And then I choked him out again. And the difference is that I force the fight. I don't back up. I don't try to be one-dimensional. So I apologize for the viewers who think I was too hard on Sean Strickland. That's my honest opinion about his skill set. And I believe if he was to see it, he'd be like, Demetrious Johnson doesn't know shit. And I might not know shit. But that's my honest opinion. When I look at it, I'm like, and when I was breaking it down by frame, you see him do all this stuff, take advantage of it. And another thing, what made me start breaking fights down in slow motion? When I was getting ready to fight Dominic Cruz, Matt Hume would do the exact same thing. He goes, watch this. Watch, and he goes, look where his body posture is. Look where his face is. Look where his hands are at. He goes, even though it's a split second, when you're inside the fight, you can take advantage of that person when you're doing that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, but as always, I'm going to be honest and give you guys a straight thing.
I don't think you have to apologize. I mean, that's what I like about you. You're not going to just say something because you know it's going to get views, or if you're going to offend someone. Like, you're just saying the honest truth. So, yeah. No.
Even when I saw Izzy, guys, Izzy came, we talked, and I said a couple things about Izzy, and I still say things about Izzy that he might not like, but he agrees with me, where I'm like, man, if Izzy would fucking force the clinch, force to wrestle, and then when I saw Izzy, I said, Izzy, how come you don't be clinching these motherfuckers? How come you don't be wrestling these motherfuckers? There's no reason why you should go 1-1-2 double leg takedown, right? And he goes, well, I don't need to. And I was like, that's true, you don't need to, but I would love to see it because it's going to make your game completely. So, but yeah, I just say what I feel and feel what I say.
No, and like I said, keep a lookout. We're going to have content all week for UFC 302. So just keep an eye out for that. Finally got a pay-per-view to cover that's worth covering. So no, we're going to do big.
Boom. Well, damn, we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheer.